You! Sloan Merritt's voice cracks like a whip through the boardroom. 43 investors freeze. Every phone camera swivels toward the man in the doorway. Rumpled gray uniform, mop bucket, company ID badge reading maintenance. Do you have any idea how much money is being discussed in this room right now? Sloan rises from her chair at the head of the table, her Valentino suit worth more than his annual salary. Or are you just another minimum wage employee who thinks eavesdropping on his betters counts as career advancement? Ethan Graves' throat goes dry. His 7-year-old daughter Chloe is 3 floors below in the building's overnight care, waiting for Daddy to finish work. The insulin she needs costs $3,800 monthly, exactly why he can't afford to lose this job. Ma'am, I apologize. I was just... No. Grant Westfield cuts him off, standing with a predator's smile. As chief investment officer, he's Sloan's right hand and the most feared man at Merritt Capital. Ms. Merritt asked you a question. You've been standing out there for 15 minutes listening to strategies you couldn't possibly comprehend. So let's make this educational. He gestures to the massive screen behind Sloan. Charts, projections, risk models for a $2.3 billion trade set to execute in 90 minutes. Tell us, Janitor, what's your expert opinion on tomorrow's Nakamura Electronics acquisition? Should we invest our clients' money, or do you see some problem that 43 licensed professionals somehow missed? The room erupts in laughter. Someone's already typing on Twitter, "Cleaning guy crashes investment meeting at Merritt Capital." Sloan's eyes glitter with cold amusement. Go ahead, enlighten us. Where exactly should we put $2.3 billion? Ethan stares at the screen. At the numbers his brain is already calculating, cross-referencing, pattern matching against financial data he's memorized from 7 years of obsessive study. At the red flags these people somehow aren't seeing. His hands tremble. Every instinct screams to apologize and run. But he looks at those numbers again and knows what happens if they make this trade. You can't invest in Nakamura, he says quietly. The laughter dies instantly. Sloan's expression hardens to ice. I'm sorry? The merger you're planning to bet $2.3 billion on. Ethan's voice steadies even as his heart pounds. It's going to collapse in exactly... He checks the wall clock. 4 hours and 17 minutes when Tokyo markets open. And if you invest tonight, every dollar you put in disappears. Grant Westfield's face flashes with something dark before his smile returns. And how exactly would a janitor know that? Ethan points to the third column of data with the cleaning rag still clutched in his other hand. Because Nakamura's quarterly earnings are inflated by 34.2%, same percentage as the Sato financial fraud in 2018. Same shell company structure, same offshore routing through Hong Kong subsidiaries. Their CFO is cooking the books, and when their mandatory regulatory filing hits Japanese authorities in 4 hours, this whole merger implodes. You'll lose everything. The silence is absolute. Sloan Merritt stares at the janitor who just deconstructed in 45 seconds what her team spent 6 weeks building. Her knuckles are white against the mahogany table. Who the hell are you? Ethan meets her gaze for the first time. Someone who's seen this exact pattern before. Someone who knows what fraud looks like when everyone else is too busy celebrating to notice. This is insane, Grant says, but his voice carries an edge now. Ms. Merritt, we're taking investment advice from a man who cleans toilets. Actually, a woman's voice interrupts from the back. Jennifer Park, one of Sloan's senior analysts, is staring at her laptop with wide eyes. He might be right. I'm pulling Nakamura's subsidiary filings from the Hong Kong exchange right now, and there are discrepancies. Major ones. The room's energy shifts. Investors lean forward. Sloan's laser focus locks onto Ethan. You have 5 minutes, she says. Explain everything, and if you're wasting my time, security will escort you out permanently. Ethan sets down his mop bucket. His heart hammers against his ribs, but his mind is already organizing data, connecting patterns, building the case that might save these people billions, or destroy what little he has left. Nakamura Electronics reported $847 million in Q3 revenue, he begins. But if you cross-reference their Hong Kong subsidiary disclosures with Japanese domestic filings, the numbers don't match. There's a $289 million gap being funneled through shell companies in the Cayman Islands. The CFO, Takeshi Yamamoto, used this exact structure when he was at Sato Financial before their collapse. Jennifer's fingers fly across her keyboard. He's right. Yamamoto was Sato's VP of Finance until 2018. He left 3 months before the scandal broke. That's circumstantial, Grant says, but sweat is forming at his temples. We've done extensive due diligence. Your due diligence missed the subsidiary structure because you focused on consolidated statements, Ethan interrupts. But the pattern is there. Revenue inflation of exactly 34.2% achieved through intercompany transactions that don't actually represent real business. When Tokyo regulators publish their audit findings at 9 a.m. their time, the merger announcement gets pulled. Stock price crashes. Everyone who invested loses everything. Sloane picks up her phone. Margaret, get me the head of our Tokyo office, now! She looks at Ethan. If you're wrong about this, I'll make sure you never work in this building again, if you're right. She pauses. How does a janitor know this much about international securities fraud? Long story, Ethan says. I've got time. Before Ethan can answer, Jennifer speaks up again. Ms. Merritt, I'm finding more. The intercompany transactions he's talking about, they're real. And they follow the exact same pattern as Sato Financial before they collapsed. If we invest in this merger, we're not investing. Sloane's voice cuts through the room like steel. Cancel the Nakamura trade. All of it. Contact every client on the call list and tell them the deal is off. Sloane, we can't just... Grant starts. We can, and we are. Jennifer, I want a full audit of Nakamura's financials on my desk in 3 hours. Use every resource we have in Tokyo. She turns back to Ethan. You, my office. Now. The walk to Sloane's office feels like a death march. Ethan's hands won't stop shaking. Through the glass walls, he can see other employees staring. Word travels fast in buildings like this. By morning, everyone will know the janitor crashed an executive meeting and somehow convinced the CEO to cancel a multi-billion-dollar trade. Sloane's office occupies the corner of the 53rd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offer a God's view of Manhattan, the city spreading out in a glittering grid of ambition and money. The furniture probably costs more than Ethan makes in 5 years. Sit. Sloane doesn't look at him as she pours 2 glasses of water from a crystal decanter. She hands him one and leans against her desk, arms crossed. Start talking. Who are you, really? Ethan drinks the entire glass. His mouth is desert dry. My name is Ethan Graves. 7 years ago, I was a senior analyst at Harrison & Pierce. Recognition flashes in Sloane's eyes. The firm that went under in the Princeton data scandal. I didn't work on Princeton data. I worked in emerging markets, mostly Asian securities. Ethan sets down the glass. But I found something. A pattern of fraudulent trades being routed through our Hong Kong office. $500 million moving through shell companies. When I reported it to the partners, they turned on you. They blamed me for the fraud. Said I'd been orchestrating it and got caught. I lost my licenses, my career, my marriage. Spent 2 years fighting criminal charges that eventually got dropped for lack of evidence. But by then my reputation was destroyed. No firm would touch me. Sloane studies him with an intensity that makes Ethan feel stripped bare. So you became a janitor. I needed health insurance. My daughter has juvenile diabetes. The medication costs nearly $4,000 a month. Merit Capital's janitorial contractor offers benefits that actually cover her treatment. So yes, I clean floors, and I listen, and I watch, because I never stopped studying markets, never stopped seeing patterns. I just couldn't do anything about it anymore. Until tonight. Until you forced me to speak. The intercom on Sloane's desk buzzes. Ms. Merritt, Tokyo office on line 1. They're confirming the discrepancies in Nakamura's filings. Sloane picks up the phone. Talk to me. She listens for 2 minutes. her expression growing darker. "Send me everything. I want documentation within the hour." She hangs up and looks at Ethan with something that might be respect. "You just saved this firm from the biggest loss in its history. Our Tokyo team confirms everything you said. Nakamura's merger announcement is being delayed pending regulatory investigation. If we'd invested, you would have lost $2.3 billion of your client's money. How much do we pay you to clean floors? $32,000 a year plus benefits." Sloan laughs, a sharp, humorless sound. "I just paid Grant Westfield $800,000 in bonuses this year, and he missed fraud that a janitor spotted in 15 minutes. She walks to the window, her silhouette framed against the city lights. "What do you want, Ethan Graves?" "I want to keep my job. I need the insurance for my daughter." "That's the minimum you should want." Sloan turns around. "I'm offering you a trial position as a junior analyst, $60,000 base salary, full benefits, performance bonuses. You work with Jennifer's team for 3 months. If you're as good as tonight suggests, we make it permanent and discuss senior positions." Ethan's heart stops. "You're serious?" "I don't joke about money or talent. You have both. The question is whether you can do this job every day, not just once in a crisis." Her eyes narrow. "But I need to know. Are you running some kind of con? Because if this is corporate espionage or you're working for competitors..." "I'm not. I'm just a father trying to keep his daughter alive and healthy. That's all I've been for 7 years. Something in Sloan's expression softens almost imperceptibly. "Be here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Wear something that isn't a janitor's uniform. We'll see what you're really capable of." Ethan stands, his legs unsteady. "Thank you. I won't let you down. Don't thank me yet. Half this firm is going to hate you by tomorrow morning. The janitor who thinks he's smarter than licensed professionals. You'll have to prove yourself every single day." She pauses. "And Ethan, whatever happened at Harrison and Pierce, I'm going to investigate it. If you lied to me about anything, this offer disappears." "I didn't lie." "Good. Now go get your daughter. It's late." Ethan leaves the office in a daze. The elevator ride down feels surreal. 3 hours ago, he was mopping floors. Now he has an analyst position at one of Manhattan's most prestigious firms. It doesn't feel real. It feels like the universe is playing a cruel joke that will collapse at any moment. Chloe is asleep in the building's overnight care facility when Ethan arrives. She's curled up in a small chair, her insulin pump visible under her Disney princess t-shirt. He gently wakes her. "Daddy?" She rubs her eyes. "Is it home time?" "Yeah, baby, it's home time. Did you finish cleaning all the floors?" Ethan picks her up, feeling the familiar weight of her against his chest. "I did something different tonight. I'll tell you about it tomorrow." "Okay." Chloe yawns and rests her head on his shoulder. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Chloe. More than anything." As they leave the building, Ethan glances back at the lit windows of the 53rd floor. Sloan's office is still bright. She's probably already working, already investigating him, already testing whether tonight was real or illusion. He doesn't know that 53 floors above, Sloan Merritt is staring at financial records from Harrison and Pierce, reading about a junior analyst who tried to expose fraud and was destroyed for it. She doesn't know why she cares. She's built her empire on ruthless pragmatism, on judging people by results rather than circumstances. But something about the janitor who spoke truth to power while risking everything he had. Something about that refuses to leave her mind. The next morning, Ethan stands outside Merritt Capital at 7:45 a.m. wearing the only suit he owns, a 5-year-old Jaws, a bank special that's slightly too big in the shoulders. He dropped Chloe at school with promises to pick her up on time, then took the subway to Midtown with his heart pounding against his ribs. The building looks different in daylight. Less fortress, more glass cathedral to money and ambition. Employees stream through the revolving doors in expensive suits and designer shoes, everyone moving with the confidence of people whose worth is never questioned. Ethan takes a breath and walks inside. Security recognizes him. "Mr. Graves?" Ms. Merritt left instructions. "Take the executive elevator to 53. She's expecting you. The ride up is torture." Ethan catches his reflection in the polished steel. Someone trying to be something he hasn't been in 7 years. He looks like a fraud, wearing a costume. The doors open to chaos. Completely insane that we're hiring. Actually knows what he's talking about? Janitor, for God's sake, this is Merit Capital, not a charity. Jennifer Park spots Ethan first. There he is. She walks over with a tablet and a smile that seems genuine. Welcome to the war zone. Half the analysts think you're a genius. The other half think Sloane's lost her mind. Grant's been in her office for 20 minutes arguing against your hire. Maybe I should come back later. Don't you dare. Jennifer hands him the tablet. This is your workstation assignment, building access codes, system logins. You're on my team, which means you report to me, and I report to Sloane. Your first assignment is analyzing the Nakamura situation. We need a full report by end of day documenting exactly how you identified the fraud. Jennifer. Grant Westfield's voice cuts through the noise. He's walking toward them with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. I see our newest employee has arrived. Ethan, is it? Welcome to Merit Capital. I'm sure this will be an interesting experiment. The emphasis on experiment is clear. This is temporary. This is probation. One mistake and you're gone. Thank you, Mr. Westfield. Call me Grant. We're all colleagues here, regardless of background. His smile sharpens. Though I have to say, Sloane's taking quite a risk hiring someone with your history. Harrison and Pierce was a difficult situation, wasn't it? All those accusations of fraud that nearly resulted in criminal charges. Jennifer's expression hardens. The charges were dropped. Ethan was cleared. Dropped isn't the same as cleared, but I'm sure everything will be fine. Grant pats Ethan's shoulder. Just remember, this is the major leagues. We can't afford mistakes here, not like wherever you've been working recently. He walks away, leaving tension in his wake. Don't let him rattle you, Jennifer says quietly. Grant doesn't like anyone who threatens his position as Sloane's top advisor. And you definitely threatened that last night. I didn't mean to threaten anyone. Too late. You made him look bad in front of 43 investors. Men like Grant don't forgive that easily. Before Ethan can respond, Sloane's office door opens. She's on the phone, gesturing for him to come inside. He walks in on shaking legs. Don't care what the board thinks, Marcus. We avoided a catastrophic loss. That's what matters. Sloane hangs up and studies Ethan. You look terrified. Honestly, I am. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. She hands him a file folder. I spent most of last night investigating you, the Harrison and Pierce scandal, the fraud accusations, all of it. You want to know what I found? Ethan's mouth goes dry. What? That you were telling the truth. The senior partners at Harrison and Pierce were running a massive fraud scheme through their Hong Kong office. When you discovered it, they needed a scapegoat. You were junior enough to be expendable, smart enough to be plausible, and naive enough not to see it coming until it was too late. She leans back in her chair. They destroyed you to save themselves. You believe me. I believe evidence, and the evidence says you got screwed by people who should have protected you. Sloane's gaze is intense. But here's what I need to know. Are you going to be able to do this job without that history destroying you again? Because the moment word spreads about who you are, people will use it against you. They'll question every analysis you make, every recommendation you give. Can you handle that? Ethan thinks about Chloe, about insulin pumps and hospital bills and 7 years of scraping by, about the dream he thought was dead forever. Yes, I can handle it. Then get to work. Jennifer will guide you through your first assignment. And Ethan, don't make me regret this. 3 weeks pass in a blur of spreadsheets, market analysis, and slowly winning over skeptical colleagues. Ethan works 12-hour days, arriving early and leaving late, building reports that are so thorough they can't be dismissed. He identifies 3 more potential fraud situations before they become problems. He saves clients from bad investments. Slowly, grudgingly, people start to respect him, but not everyone. Grant Westfield watches from his office like a spider in its web. He compliments Ethan's work in meetings while subtly undermining him in private conversations. He questions his analysis just enough to plant seeds of doubt. He reminds people about Harrison and Pierce whenever Ethan isn't in the room. And he does something else too. Something nobody notices. He starts accessing Ethan's computer after hours. He studies his patterns, his methods, his analyses. Because Grant has a problem that's getting worse every day. His own fraud is still buried in Merit Capital's books, and Ethan is exactly the kind of analyst who might stumble onto it. The person who notices the subtle war is Sloane. She watches Ethan work from her office, sees how he approaches problems differently than her other analysts. He doesn't just run numbers. He looks for patterns, for human behavior, for the psychology behind financial decisions. It's the same instinct that made him spot Nakamura's fraud in minutes. But she also sees how he struggles, how he eats lunch alone because other analysts haven't fully accepted him, how he leaves exactly at 5 p.m. every day to pick up his daughter, never staying for after-work drinks or networking events, how he's rebuilding a career while raising a child by himself. One evening, Sloane finds herself working late when Ethan returns to the building at 8 p.m. "You're back," she says, surprising him in the hallway. "Chloe's asleep." "My neighbor's watching her for a few hours. I wanted to finish the Thompson Industries report." "You don't have to work nights to prove yourself." "Yes, I do." Ethan meets her eyes. "Everyone here knows I was a janitor 3 weeks ago. They're waiting for me to fail. I can't give them that satisfaction." Sloane understands that drive more than he knows. She built Merit Capital from nothing, fighting every day against men who said women couldn't run investment firms. She worked twice as hard for half the recognition until she became too successful to ignore. "Have dinner with me," she says suddenly. Ethan blinks. "What?" "Dinner. There's a Thai place 2 blocks from here that stays open late. You need to eat. I need to eat. And we can discuss the Thompson Industries situation without 40 people listening to every word." "Is this a business dinner or does it matter?" Sloane's expression is unreadable. "I'm asking if you want to get dinner with me. Yes or no?" Ethan hesitates for only a second. Yes. The restaurant is small, tucked between 2 larger buildings. The kind of place where Manhattan's working class eats when they can't afford the trendy spots. They sit in a corner booth with cracked vinyl seats and fluorescent lighting that makes everyone look slightly ill. "You come here often?" Ethan asks. "I used to. When I was starting out and couldn't afford anything else." Sloane orders pad thai and spring rolls without looking at the menu. "This is where I came the night I decided to start my own firm. I was 29 years old, working for a company that paid me 60% of what they paid men with half my talent. So I walked out, came here, and planned my empire on napkins." "How long did it take?" 15 years of 18-hour days. 15 years of being told I'd fail, that women couldn't handle high-stakes finance, that I was too aggressive, too cold, too everything. She looks directly at him. "I didn't build Merit Capital by being nice. I built it by being better than everyone else and refusing to quit. That's what I'm trying to do now. Be better. Prove I deserve to be there. You've already proven it. The Nakamura analysis alone justified your hire. Everything since then is just you being excellent at your job." Sloane leans back. "But I'm curious about something else. You have a daughter. Where's her mother?" The question lands like a punch. Ethan takes a long drink of water. "Rebecca left when Chloe was 2. After I lost everything at Harrison and Pierce, she couldn't handle it. The poverty, the shame, the way people looked at us. She wanted the life we'd planned. Manhattan apartment, private schools, vacations in Europe. Not a husband facing fraud charges who couldn't get hired anywhere." His voice is flat. "She moved to California, remarried someone in tech. Sends a birthday card to Chloe twice a year. That's it. I'm sorry." "Don't be. Chloe and I are better off. We have each other. That's enough." Sloane sees something in his face, a protective love so fierce it's almost painful to witness. She's never had that. Never wanted children, never made space in her life for anything except ambition. But watching Ethan talk about his daughter, she wonders what it's like to love someone more than your own success. "Tell me about her," Sloane says. And Ethan does. He talks about Chloe's diabetes diagnosis when she was 4, the terror of learning to manage insulin and blood sugar. He talks about her love of drawing, how she wants to be an artist when she grows up. He talks about reading to her every night, the same princess books over and over because she never gets tired of happy endings. Sloane listens and realizes she's seeing a version of Ethan that doesn't exist at the office. Not the brilliant analyst, or the man fighting to prove himself, just a father who loves his daughter with everything he has. "She's lucky to have you," Sloane says quietly. "I'm lucky to have her. She's the reason I didn't give up when everything fell apart. When I wanted to just disappear, she needed me. So I kept going." They talk until the restaurant closes at 11 p.m. About finance, about ambition, about the cost of success and the price of failure. When they finally leave, Manhattan is quieter, the streets emptying as the city transitions from day chaos to night hum. "Thank you for dinner," Ethan says. "We should do it again. Discuss cases, strategies." Sloane pauses. "This is still mostly professional." "Mostly? I'm still deciding." She hails a cab. "See you tomorrow, Ethan." As the cab pulls away, Ethan stands on the sidewalk wondering what just happened. Whether his boss just asked him to dinner as networking or something else. Whether he's reading too much into nothing. 53 floors above the city, in her penthouse apartment that's all glass and steel and expensive emptiness, Sloane wonders the same thing. She built her empire by never letting personal feelings interfere with business, by keeping everyone at arm's length, by being the brilliant, untouchable CEO who needed no one. But something about Ethan Graves is making her question that isolation. Something about his quiet strength, his refusal to give up, his dedication to his daughter. It's getting under her skin in ways she doesn't entirely understand or welcome. She pushes the thought away and opens her laptop. Work is safer than feelings. Numbers don't betray you. Success doesn't leave. But even as she reviews reports, her mind keeps drifting back to a corner booth in a cheap Thai restaurant, and the way Ethan talked about his daughter like she was his entire world. The next morning brings disaster in a form nobody expected. Ethan arrives at the office to find Jennifer waiting by his desk with a grim expression. "We have a problem. A big one." "What happened?" "Someone leaked your Harrison and Pierce history to the financial press. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal about how Merit Capital hired a former analyst who was accused of securities fraud. It's all over social media. Clients are calling demanding to know why we're employing someone with your background." Ethan's blood runs cold. "I was cleared of those charges." "The article mentions that, but it also mentions that the charges were dropped, not that you were proven innocent. It's written to make you look suspicious." Jennifer pulls up her phone, showing him the headline, "Merit Capital's risky hire. Janitor turned analyst Ethan Graves has history of fraud accusations." "Who leaked this?" "We don't know. But someone inside this firm gave them information about your employment here. Someone who wants you gone." Sloane's office door opens. "Ethan, inside, now!" The walk feels like execution. Other analysts stare as he passes, their expressions ranging from sympathy to satisfaction. This is what they've been waiting for, proof that the janitor didn't belong. Grant Westfield is already in Sloane's office, looking appropriately concerned. "This is a PR nightmare. We have clients threatening to pull accounts over this hire." "Then we explain the truth," Sloane says coldly. "The truth is complicated. And in finance, complicated looks guilty." Grant turns to Ethan with false sympathy. "I'm sorry this happened. But maybe it's better to part ways before this damages the firm's reputation further." "No." Sloane's voice cuts like ice. "Ethan stays. We issue a statement explaining his history, the false accusations, and his complete vindication. We emphasize his brilliant work identifying the Nakamura fraud that saved our clients billions. Anyone who doesn't like it can take their business elsewhere." "Sloane, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. I'm defending an employee who was targeted by a malicious leak designed to destroy his reputation." Again, she looks directly at Grant. And I'm very interested in finding out who gave this story to the press, because that person committed corporate espionage and betrayed this firm's confidentiality policies. Grant's expression flickers for just a moment, so quick that anyone else would miss it. But Ethan sees it. A flash of something dark before the concerned colleague mask slides back into place. Of course. We should investigate thoroughly. Grant stands. I'll leave you two to discuss damage control. After he leaves, Sloane turns to Ethan. This was deliberate. Someone's trying to force you out. Grant! You can't prove that. But you suspect it too. Sloane doesn't deny it. Grant's been with me for 8 years. He's brilliant at his job. I trust him with billion-dollar decisions. Then why do you look like you're questioning that trust? The question hangs between them. Sloane walks to her window, staring out at the city she conquered through sheer force of will. Because something's been off lately. Decisions that don't quite make sense. Reports that seem correct but feel wrong. I've ignored it because Grant's been loyal and effective. But watching him push to fire you over leaked information that came from inside this firm. She turns around. My instincts are telling me to pay attention. What do you want me to do? Keep working. Prove you're exactly as good as I think you are. And watch Grant. If he's the leak, he'll make another move. People always do when they think they're winning. Ethan goes back to his desk, but the office atmosphere has shifted. Colleagues who were warming up to him now keep their distance. The whispers follow him everywhere. The janitor with the fraud history. The risky hire that's bringing down the firm's reputation. Only Jennifer stays loyal, sitting with him at lunch while everyone else avoids their table. This will blow over, she says. Give it a week. People have short memories. Or I'll be fired and forgotten by Friday. Sloane doesn't fire people for being innocent victims of hit pieces. She's defending you publicly. That means something, but the pressure is crushing. Ethan works through lunch, through breaks, trying to produce analysis so good it can't be questioned. He stays until 7 p.m., only leaving because Chloe needs him. His daughter senses something's wrong the moment he picks her up. Daddy, you look sad. Just a tough day at work, baby. Did someone be mean to you? Ethan kneels to her level. Some people don't think I should have my job. They're trying to get me in trouble. Chloe's face scrunches with 7-year-old indignation. That's not fair. You're the smartest daddy in the whole world. Thank you, Chloe. But it's complicated. Can't you just show them you're smart? Like when you helped me with my math homework and I got an A. If only it were that simple. But Chloe's words plant a seed. He needs to produce something so undeniably brilliant that no one can question his value. Something that proves Sloane's faith in him wasn't misplaced. That night, after Chloe's asleep, Ethan opens his laptop and starts digging into something that's been bothering him for weeks. Small discrepancies in Merit Capital's Asian investments. Nothing obvious, but patterns that don't quite align. He follows the thread deeper, cross-referencing trades and subsidiary reports. And he finds something that makes his blood run cold. Someone has been systematically hiding losses in Merit Capital's Hong Kong accounts. Small amounts, never enough to trigger audits. But over 2 years, it adds up to over $200 million in missing funds. The same pattern he saw at Harrison and Pierce, the same structure that destroyed his career. And every suspicious trade has one name attached to its approval: Grant Westfield. Ethan's hands shake as he compiles the evidence. This is bigger than leaked articles or office politics. This is massive fraud happening right under Sloane's nose. But he can't just email her. If Grant finds out Ethan knows, he'll destroy the evidence and probably destroy Ethan too. He needs to be smart about this. Careful. Build an airtight case before revealing anything. But time is something he might not have. The next morning, Ethan arrives early to find his computer login disabled. His desk access cards don't work. When he tries to enter the analyst floor, security stops him. I'm sorry, Mr. Graves. Your building access has been suspended pending review. Review of what? I'm not authorized to discuss that. You'll need to speak with HR. Ethan's heart pounds as he takes the elevator to HR. The department head, a woman named Patricia Chen, looks uncomfortable when he walks in. Mr. Graves, please sit down. Why is my access suspended? There's been an allegation of improper computer use. Someone reported that you were accessing confidential files outside your authorization level. That's ridiculous. I've only accessed files Jennifer assigned to me. The report says you were reviewing Hong Kong subsidiary accounts at 11 p.m. last night from your home IP address. Those files require special clearance you don't have. Ethan's mind races. Someone was monitoring his computer activity. Someone saw him investigating the fraud and moved immediately to shut him down. This is a setup. Someone's trying to get me fired before I can expose what I found. Mr. Graves, making accusations without evidence. I have evidence. There's fraud happening in the Hong Kong accounts. Systematic theft over 2 years. I was gathering documentation to present to Miss Merritt. Patricia's expression shifts slightly. That's a serious allegation. Do you have proof? On my work computer, which I can't access because my credentials are disabled. I see. Patricia considers for a long moment. Wait here. She leaves for 10 minutes that feel like hours. When she returns, Sloane is with her. Explain, Sloane says without preamble. Ethan tells her everything. The patterns he noticed, the missing funds, the Hong Kong subsidiaries, Grant's name on every approval. He expects skepticism, accusations that he's making things up to save his job. Instead, Sloane's face goes very still. How much is missing? Over $200 million that I can document, possibly more. And you found this how? The same way I found Nakamura's fraud. Pattern recognition. The numbers don't lie if you know what to look for. Sloane turns to Patricia. Reinstate his access, full clearance, and this conversation stays between the three of us. Sloane, if there's truth to this, then we handle it carefully and quietly until we have undeniable proof. If Grant suspects we're investigating him, evidence disappears and we lose everything. She looks at Ethan. You're going to work with me directly on this. No one else knows. Not Jennifer, not the board, no one. Can you do that? Yes. Good. Because if you're right, Grant has been stealing from my firm for 2 years. And if you're wrong, I just gave classified access to someone who might be paranoid. Her eyes are hard. Don't make me regret this trust. For the next week, Ethan and Sloane work in secret. She gives him access to everything. Complete financial records, trading histories, subsidiary reports. They meet in her office after hours when the building is mostly empty, going through years of data. The evidence builds slowly. Grant was brilliant about covering his tracks. He never stole from large visible accounts. He targeted smaller Hong Kong investments where losses could be attributed to market volatility. He spread the theft across dozens of transactions over 2 years. But the pattern is there. Once Ethan shows Sloane what to look for, it becomes undeniable. He's been stealing from me, Sloane says one night, her voice cold with fury. For 2 years. While I trusted him, promoted him, gave him power over billions in client assets. He's smart. He knew exactly how much to take without triggering automatic audits. But you found it anyway, because I've seen this before. At Harrison and Pierce, the partners there used the exact same structure. Ethan pulls up a comparison chart. Look, same subsidiary patterns, same offshore routing, same small amount strategy. Grant either learned from them or used the same playbook. Sloane stares at the evidence, her mind racing through implications. If this goes public, Merritt Capital's reputation is destroyed. Clients will flee. The SEC will investigate. Everything I've built, or you handle it internally. Confront Grant. Recover what you can. Fire him quietly. The fraud stays contained. That's not justice. No, but it's survival. Sloane meets his eyes. For the first time since Ethan met her, she looks uncertain, vulnerable. The brilliant CEO who always has answers is facing a betrayal that cuts deeper than money. I trusted him, she says quietly. He's been my right hand for 8 years. How did I miss this? Because people who commit fraud are good at deception. That's how they succeed. You weren't deceived. You saw through it in days. I had reason to be suspicious. I've been burned before. Ethan moves closer. This isn't your failure, Sloane. This is Grant's crime. Don't let him make you doubt yourself. Something passes between them in that moment. An understanding born from shared experience with betrayal and loss. Sloane has spent her entire career being untouchable, unbreakable. But right now, she's just a person who trusted the wrong man and got hurt. "What would you do?" she asks. "If this was your decision?" "I'd expose him completely. Document everything, present it to the board and the SEC, let the legal system handle it. Because if you cover this up, you become complicit, and you're better than that. The firm could collapse, or it survives because you had the courage to face the truth and fix it. Clients respect integrity. They'll leave if you're corrupt. But if you're the CEO who discovered fraud and immediately addressed it, that's leadership." Sloane studies him for a long moment. "When did a janitor become my moral compass?" "About the time a billionaire CEO decided to give him a chance." She almost smiles. "Almost. Help me build the case. Make it airtight. We present to the board in 1 week. They work through the night, building documentation so thorough that no one can deny what happened. But they're not the only ones working late. 3 floors down, Grant Westfield sits in his office, monitoring security logs. He sees Sloane and Ethan in the executive suite, sees them accessing Hong Kong account data, sees the pattern of their research. They know. Grant's hands shake as he pulls up his offshore accounts. $287 million hidden across a dozen shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and Singapore. Money he took one small piece at a time, so carefully that no one should have noticed. But Ethan Graves noticed. The same way he noticed Nakamura. The same instinct that destroyed Grant's carefully constructed cover. Grant considers running, taking what he can and disappearing to somewhere without extradition treaties. But running means abandoning everything. His reputation, his network, his position of power. He needs to eliminate the threat first. Silence Ethan permanently before he can present evidence. Grant makes a phone call to a contact who handles problems discreetly. "I need information on someone. Everything you can find. Family, routines, vulnerabilities. I need it by tomorrow." The next evening, Ethan is picking up Chloe from school when he notices the car. A black sedan parked across the street. Engine running, windows tinted. It pulls away when he looks directly at it. Coincidence? Has to be. But the next morning, the same car is parked outside his apartment. And when he drops Chloe at school, it follows them for 3 blocks before turning away. Someone is watching him. Ethan calls Sloane from a coffee shop, using a burner phone he bought with cash. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Someone's following me. Black sedan, no plates I could see. They're watching my daughter's school." Sloane's voice goes cold. "Grant's escalating. He knows we're building a case. If he's willing to threaten my daughter, he won't touch her. Too obvious, too risky. But he's trying to scare you into backing off." There's a pause. "Where's Chloe now?" "At school." "I'm on my way there to pull her out." "Don't. Stay visible, stay public. I'm sending private security to watch the school and your apartment, and I'm moving the board presentation up to tomorrow. We end this before Grant gets more desperate." "Sloane, if something happens to Chloe, nothing will happen to her. I promise you that." Her voice softens slightly. "Trust me, Ethan." He does. Against all logic, against the paranoia born from years of betrayal. He trusts her. That night, Sloane's security team confirms what they both suspected. Grant hired a private investigator to watch Ethan and his daughter. Nothing illegal yet, but the intent is clear. Apply pressure. Make Ethan back down. "He's more scared than I thought," Sloane says during their midnight meeting in her office. "Which means the evidence we have is even more damaging than we realized. Or he's willing to do anything to protect himself. Then we move faster than he can react." Sloane pulls up the final presentation. 57 pages of documented fraud, complete with transaction records, offshore account traces, and communication logs. This destroys him. "Tomorrow morning, we present to the board. Grant will be arrested by noon, but morning brings something neither of them expected." Ethan wakes to his phone ringing at 5 a.m. It's the director of the building's overnight care. "Mr. Graves, this is Maria." Chloe was found unresponsive. Her blood sugar is dangerously high. The paramedics are taking her to Mount Sinai Hospital. They suspect ketoacidosis. You need to get there immediately. Ethan's world stops. Ketoacidosis. The word every parent of a diabetic child fears. When blood sugar gets so high that the blood becomes acidic. It can lead to coma, to death. He calls Sloan while running to the hospital. Chloe's in the ER, critical condition. I can't do the board presentation. Go to your daughter. I'll handle the board. Sloan, you need my testimony to explain the technical evidence. Your daughter needs you more. Go. We'll figure the rest out later. Ethan runs through pre-dawn Manhattan, his heart pounding. Please, let her be okay. Please. At Mount Sinai's ER, a doctor meets him with a grim expression. Mr. Graves? Your daughter's condition is serious. Her blood sugar was over 500 when she arrived. We're working to stabilize her, but she's unconscious. The next few hours are critical. Can I see her? Of course. Chloe looks impossibly small in the hospital bed. IV lines running into both arms, monitors beeping with her vital signs. Her face is pale, her breathing shallow. Ethan takes her hand. I'm here, baby. Daddy's here. You're going to be okay. But he doesn't know if that's true. Doesn't know if she'll wake up. Doesn't know if this is the crisis he's feared since her diagnosis. His phone buzzes with a text from Sloan. Board presentation moved to this afternoon. Grant requested the delay, claiming document verification needed. I think he's buying time. Call when you can. Ethan can't think about Grant or fraud or board presentations. His entire world is the small girl in the hospital bed, fighting for every breath. Hours pass. Doctors come and go. Chloe's blood sugar slowly drops from critical to merely dangerous. By noon, she's stable enough that the immediate crisis has passed. She'll need to stay several days for monitoring, the doctor explains. But she's going to recover. You got her here in time. Ethan collapses in the chair next to her bed, his whole body shaking with relief. Chloe's alive. She's going to be okay. His phone rings. Sloan. How is she? Stable, going to recover, but she'll be hospitalized for days. Thank God. Sloan's relief is genuine. I'm glad she's okay. But Ethan, we have a massive problem. Grant moved the board presentation to 4 p.m. today, and I just discovered why. He's been building a counter case against you. He's planning to present you as a disgruntled former analyst, trying to frame him for fraud you committed. That's insane. He has fake evidence, manipulated transaction logs that make it look like you accessed Hong Kong accounts months ago, before you even worked here. He's going to claim you hacked our systems while working as a janitor, stole money, and now you're blaming him to cover your tracks. Ethan's blood runs cold. It's Harrison and Pierce all over again. The same playbook. Find a scapegoat, fabricate evidence, destroy them before they can fight back. Can you prove the evidence is fake? Not in 3 hours. Our digital forensics team needs days to trace the modifications. By then, Grant will have convinced the board to fire you and possibly press charges. Then we're finished. Not if you come to the presentation. You're the only one who can explain the technical details well enough to cast doubt on Grant's narrative. You're the only one who can prove in real time which evidence is authentic. Sloan, I can't leave my daughter. I know, and I would never ask you to choose between her and this job. There's a pause. But if you don't come, Grant wins. He frames you for massive fraud, destroys your reputation permanently, and walks away with $287 million while you go to prison. Is that what you want for Chloe? Her father in jail, unable to care for her. The choice is impossible. Stay with his daughter when she needs him most, or fight for the future that lets him stay with her forever. Chloe's eyes flutter open. Daddy, I'm right here, baby. I don't feel good. I know, but the doctors are making you better. You're going to be fine. She closes her eyes again, drifting back to medicated sleep. Ethan looks at her small face, at the monitors keeping her alive, at everything he stands to lose if Grant succeeds. He calls Sloan back. I'll be there, but I need a favor. Anything. Send your security team to watch Chloe's hospital room. If Grant knows I'm testifying against him, I don't trust what he might do. Already done. 3 guards on rotation, plus a private nurse. Your daughter is safer than the president right now. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just come destroy Grant Westfield. Ethan leaves Chloe with a promise he'll be back soon. The hospital is 20 minutes from Merritt Capital. He takes a cab because his hands are shaking too hard to drive. At 3:45 p.m., he walks into the executive conference room where Merritt Capital's 12-person board is assembled. These are the people who control billions in assets, who determine the firm's direction, who can end his career with a single vote. Grant is already presenting, his voice smooth and confident. Which is why I believe Mr. Graves represents a significant security risk. The evidence clearly shows he accessed confidential systems going back 9 months, long before his official employment. He used his janitor position to steal credentials and embezzle funds, then fabricated this entire fraud investigation to cover his tracks when I began noticing discrepancies. Board members study documents, their faces skeptical but attentive. Grant has done his homework. The fake evidence looks convincing. Then Ethan walks in. Grant's confidence falters for just a moment. Mr. Graves, how's your daughter? She's alive, which is what matters. Ethan takes a seat. Unlike the truth, which you've been killing for 2 years. That's a serious accusation. From someone you're currently trying to frame for crimes you committed. Ethan looks at the board. I have evidence that proves Grant Westfield has been systematically embezzling from Merritt Capital for 2 years. Over $287 million hidden across offshore accounts. The same pattern I identified at Harrison and Pierce 7 years ago, which is why he's been so desperate to discredit me since I arrived. The board chair, a woman named Dorothy Hughes, raises her hand. Mr. Graves, you're making extraordinary claims. Mr. Westfield has been with this firm for 8 years. His record is exemplary. So was his deception. Ethan pulls out his laptop. Let me show you something. The evidence Grant presented claims I accessed Hong Kong accounts 9 months ago. But here's the metadata from those files. They were created yesterday. The timestamps were backdated, but the file creation logs don't lie. Grant made this fake evidence yesterday, after he realized Sloan and I were investigating him. That's absurd, Grant says, but sweat is forming on his forehead. Those are legitimate forensic findings. From which security firm? Because Merritt Capital doesn't have forensic contracts with anyone. You made these documents yourself. Grant's mask slips completely. This is ridiculous. You're a disgraced analyst who was fired for fraud, now working as a janitor, and you expect the board to take your word over mine. Not my word, the evidence. Ethan pulls up the side-by-side comparison. Here are the real transaction logs from Hong Kong accounts. Note the pattern of small withdrawals, always under audit thresholds. Routed through shell companies registered to addresses that don't exist. Now here are the same transactions with your approval signatures. You authorized every single fraudulent transfer. The board members lean forward, studying the data. Dorothy Hughes's expression hardens. Grant, these signatures are yours. Forged, Grant insists. Obviously forged by someone trying to frame me. Then explain this. Sloan stands, her voice like ice. I personally verified these signatures against our authentication database. They match your biometric patterns perfectly. Unless Mr. Graves somehow stole your fingerprints and retinal scans while mopping floors, these signatures are authentic. The room goes silent. Grant looks around at faces that are no longer sympathetic, no longer believing. You're making a mistake, Grant says, his voice rising. This janitor is manipulating you, manipulating all of you. He's a con artist who... Enough. Dorothy Hughes silences him with a gesture. Mr. Westfield, this board is suspending your authority immediately pending a full investigation. Security will escort you out. You're not to access any company systems or contact any employees. Am I clear? You're really going to believe a janitor over me? A janitor? Grant's composure is completely gone now, his voice desperate. I built this firm's Asian portfolio. I brought in billions in revenue. And you're going to destroy me because some poor nobody made up a story. No, Sloane says quietly. We're going to investigate you because the evidence is undeniable. You stole from my firm. You betrayed my trust. And you tried to destroy an innocent man to cover it. She nods to security. Get him out of here. As guards escort Grant from the room, his protests fading down the hallway, Dorothy Hughes turns to Ethan. Mr. Graves, on behalf of this board, I apologize. We almost made a catastrophic mistake. You were deceived by someone very good at deception. Nevertheless, Dorothy glances at the other board members. I think I speak for everyone when I say we're grateful you had the courage to expose this fraud, despite significant personal risk. Ethan stands. If we're done here, I need to get back to the hospital. My daughter, go. Sloane touches his arm briefly. We'll handle the rest. The board will vote on formal actions tomorrow. For now, just be with Chloe. Ethan leaves the building in a daze. It's over. Grant is exposed. The fraud is documented. Justice is finally happening. But he won't feel relief until he's back at Mount Sinai, back at Chloe's bedside, making sure she's really okay. When he arrives at the hospital, Chloe is awake and alert, sitting up in bed with better color in her cheeks. Daddy! You came back. Of course I came back. I promised, didn't I? He hugs her carefully, mindful of the IV lines. How are you feeling? Better. The doctor says I can maybe go home tomorrow. That's great news, baby. Was your work thing okay? Did you win? Ethan smiles. Yeah, I think we won. 3 days later, Chloe is discharged with adjusted insulin protocols and careful instructions for monitoring. Ethan takes a week off work to care for her, making sure her blood sugar stabilizes. During that week, the news breaks. Major financial outlets report the arrest of Grant Westfield, former chief investment officer of Merit Capital, on charges of embezzling over $287 million. The SEC launches investigations. Grant's assets are frozen. His bail is set at $10 million, which he can't make because his hidden accounts are being seized. The story becomes bigger when details emerge about how the fraud was discovered by a former analyst named Ethan Graves, who was working as a janitor while raising his diabetic daughter alone. Human interest pieces appear in newspapers. Social media explodes with support. Someone starts a GoFundMe for Chloe's medical expenses that raises $200,000 in 48 hours. Ethan ignores all of it. He cares about one thing, his daughter recovering. Sloane visits on the third day with flowers and a stuffed bear for Chloe. Miss Merritt? Chloe grins. Daddy talks about you all the time. He does. Sloane glances at Ethan with amusement. He says you're really smart and really pretty, and you gave him his job back. Ethan's face burns. Chloe, maybe don't repeat everything you hear, but it's true. You did say she's pretty. I heard you tell Uncle Ben on the phone. Sloane laughs, a genuine sound that Ethan rarely hears. Well, thank you for the honest character reference. After Chloe falls asleep, Sloane and Ethan sit in the hospital room's uncomfortable chairs, talking quietly. The board voted to promote you, Sloane says. Senior analyst position, $120,000 salary, plus a special bonus for exposing the fraud. You saved the firm over $200 million in potential losses. I just did what needed to be done. Most people don't. Most people see corruption and look away because it's safer. You risked everything to tell the truth. She meets his eyes. That takes a special kind of courage, or a special kind of stupidity. Maybe both. Sloane smiles. But I'm glad you were stupid enough to speak up. For what it's worth, you've changed how I think about talent and worth. I spent my whole career believing success meant you were smart and failure meant you weren't. You proved that's wrong. Intelligence has nothing to do with circumstances. You gave me a chance when no one else would. That means more than any promotion. I gave you a chance because you were undeniably brilliant. The rest was just me getting past my own biases. She pauses. When Chloe's fully recovered, I'd like to take you both to dinner. Somewhere that isn't a Thai restaurant at midnight. Is this professional or personal? I'm still deciding, Sloane says, echoing their first dinner conversation. But I'm leaning toward personal. Good. Because so am I. 6 months pass like a dream that refuses to become a nightmare. Grant Westfield pleads guilty to multiple counts of securities fraud and embezzlement. He's sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. The $287 million is recovered and returned to Merit Capital's clients. Ethan thrives in his senior analyst role. His insights reshape how the firm evaluates emerging markets. He becomes known not just as the janitor who exposed fraud, but as one of the most talented analysts in Manhattan. Headhunters call weekly with offers he politely declines. Chloe's health stabilizes with better insurance and consistent care. She starts art classes on weekends, and her drawings cover Ethan's new apartment. A 2-bedroom in a better neighborhood with actual closets and windows that don't rattle in the wind. And Sloane? Sloane becomes something Ethan never expected. A partner in every sense of the word. They're careful at first. Dinner dates that could technically be business meetings, coffee breaks that last too long to be innocent, conversations that drift from markets to movies to the kind of personal stories people only share when they're falling in love. The relationship develops slowly, naturally, like two people who've both been hurt learning to trust again. Sloane introduces Ethan to her world of galas and fundraisers and high society events, where he's initially uncomfortable until he realizes these people aren't that different from anywhere else, just richer and more likely to talk about their problems. Ethan introduces Sloane to Chloe carefully, making sure his daughter understands this isn't just Daddy's boss, but someone who might become more important. Chloe approves immediately, declaring that Ms. Merritt is super nice and really pretty, and she bought me the best art supplies ever. By the time autumn arrives, they're not hiding the relationship anymore. Office gossip runs wild, the billionaire CEO dating the former janitor she hired. Some people think it's romantic, others think it's scandalous. Neither Sloane nor Ethan cares. One evening, Sloane takes Ethan to the observation deck at Top of the Rock. Manhattan spreads out beneath them in a glittering grid of ambition and possibility. "I used to come here when I was building the firm," Sloane says. "I'd look down at the city and think about conquering it, about proving I was better than everyone who said I'd fail." "Did you conquer it?" "I built a billion-dollar company. I have everything I worked for." She turns to face him. "But standing here with you, I realize how lonely that success was. I spent 15 years winning, and I never stopped to ask what I was winning for. And now I know. It's not about conquering the city. It's about finding someone who sees you as more than your success or your failures. Someone who values who you are, not what you've achieved." Ethan takes her hands. "You gave me my life back. You believed in me when no one else would. You fought for me even when it would have been easier to let me go. You did the same for me. You saved my company, exposed corruption I was too blind to see, and showed me that real intelligence doesn't wear expensive suits." She smiles. "Plus, my board loves you," Dorothy Hughes asked when we're getting married. She did not. She did. Apparently, our relationship is adorably unexpected and good for company morale. Ethan laughs. "Well, when a board member suggests marriage, is that a proposal? Maybe. Would you say yes?" Sloane pretends to consider. "I'd need to review the terms, negotiate conditions, draft appropriate contracts. Of course." Very professional. "But assuming the terms are favorable?" She kisses him. "Yes, I'd say yes." They stand there as the city lights flicker to life below them. Two people who found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and built something neither expected. 1 year later, they're married in a small ceremony at Central Park. Chloe is the flower girl, taking her role very seriously. Jennifer is Sloane's maid of honor. Dorothy Hughes attends and cries during the vows. Grant Westfield watches coverage of the wedding on the television in his federal prison cell, bitter and alone, understanding too late that the janitor he tried to destroy was always smarter than him. The reception is held at the same Thai restaurant where Sloane and Ethan had their first dinner. She insists on it, wanting to remember where everything changed, where a billionaire CEO and a janitor became just two people talking honestly over pad thai and spring rolls. Ethan gives a toast that makes everyone laugh and cry. I used to think success meant going back to what I lost, the career, the reputation, the life I had before everything fell apart. But I was wrong. Success wasn't going back. It was moving forward into something I never imagined. Something better than anything I lost. He looks at Sloane, who's wearing a simple white dress and smiling like she just won the lottery. I found someone who sees brilliance where others see obstacles, who gives chances when others give up, who proved that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be better. He raises his glass. To my wife. The smartest, strongest, most beautiful person I've ever known. Thank you for forcing a janitor to speak. It changed my life. Chloe, sitting at the head table in her purple dress, shouts, "And mine too. Now I have a mommy again." The room erupts in applause and laughter. Sloane wipes tears from her eyes, her carefully controlled CEO mask completely gone, replaced by genuine joy. Later, as the reception winds down and guests begin leaving, Ethan finds himself standing on the sidewalk where he stood that first night, dazed and confused about what had just happened. Sloane joins him, linking her arm through his. "What are you thinking about?" "That night, when you forced me to give investment advice as a joke. I thought my life was over. I thought you were going to humiliate me and fire me and I'd lose everything. I was going to. That was absolutely the plan." Sloane leans her head on his shoulder. "But then you opened your mouth and everything I believed about intelligence and worth and who deserves opportunities just exploded. You destroyed my worldview in 45 seconds. Sorry about that. Don't be. It was the best thing that ever happened to me." She smiles. "Turns out the janitor was smarter than the billionaire all along." "I don't know about that." "I do. You saw value in yourself when nobody else did. You kept studying, kept learning, kept believing you were worth something even when the entire world said you weren't. That's wisdom I never had." They stand there on a Manhattan street as cabs honk and people rush past, and the city lives its relentless, indifferent life. Two people who shouldn't have met, shouldn't have connected, shouldn't have fallen in love. Except they did. Because sometimes the universe gets it right. Sometimes the person you underestimate is exactly the person you need. Sometimes the janitor listening at the door has more answers than everyone in the room. And sometimes, when a billionaire CEO forces someone to speak, expecting a joke, they get the truth that changes everything instead. Chloe runs out of the restaurant, her face covered in cake frosting. "Daddy! Mom! They're cutting the cake again and you're missing it." "We're coming, baby." Ethan scoops her up. "Can't miss the cake." As they walk back inside, Sloane catches Ethan's hand. "I love you." "I love you too." "No, I really love you. The kind of love where I can't imagine my life without you in it. Where everything before feels like practice for finding you." Ethan stops walking, right there on the sidewalk with their daughter in his arms and wedding guests visible through the restaurant windows. He kisses Sloane like they're the only two people in the city. "I know exactly what you mean, because I feel the same way." They go back inside to cut cake and dance badly, and celebrate the impossible love story that started with fraud accusations and janitor's uniforms and a woman who chose to listen when she could have chosen to dismiss. 15 years later, the story is still told at Merit Capital as legend. How the firm's CEO married the janitor who saved the company and exposed massive fraud. How their daughter Chloe, the little girl with diabetes who inspired her father's courage, graduated from Yale's art program and opened a gallery showcasing work by artists from disadvantaged backgrounds. How Sloane and Ethan built not just a successful firm, but a family that proved intelligence, worth, and love have nothing to do with where you start, only with who you choose to become. And how sometimes the most valuable advice comes from the person nobody expects. The one cleaning floors while everyone else talks, the one listening while everyone else performs, The one who sees patterns nobody else notices because they're too busy assuming they already know everything. The janitor who became a senior partner. The billionaire who learned humility. The daughter who inspired courage. The love story that started with the cruelest test and ended with the most beautiful truth. That brilliance doesn't announce itself with credentials and corner offices. Sometimes it pushes a mop bucket and waits quietly for someone brave enough to ask its opinion. And when someone finally does, everything changes. If you're hearing this, it means you stayed to the very end. Thank you. That honestly means the world to me. I really hope you got something out of it. Maybe a new way of looking at things, a moment of peace, or just a good escape from the everyday. If you did, I'd genuinely love to hear about it in the comments. You see, we're on a mission here, to prove that deep, meaningful stories still have a place in this world. When you subscribe, it's like you're telling us, keep going. When you hit that like button, you're giving the story a little push so it can find the next person who might need it. Don't forget those notifications so you know when the next one is ready. From me to you, thank you for being here. Carry the best parts of this one with you.